Hi, I'm Sam, and I'm refuting Blake's argument on mass media. The claim I'm responding to is mass media's sexual portrayal of women has a negative effect on society. His secondary claims are, number one, mass media's sexualizing of women increases violence and sexual harassment among women and girls. Number two, women are more sexually portrayed than men. And number three, media is the main condition in the shaping of young women and girls' sexual desires. My response is, mass media's sexual portrayal of women has not been the reason for a negative effect on society. Back to Blake's first claim, mass media's sexualizing of women increases violence and sexual harassment among women and girls. The increase of violence and sexual harassment among women and girls is not due to mass media, but largely due to unequal treatment in the workplace. Catherine McCannon, the author of Sexual Harassment of Working Women, a case of sex discrimination with a PhD from Yale University, said, sexual harassment of women can occur largely because women occupy inferior job positions and job roles. At the same time, sexual harassment works to keep women in such positions. Man's position of power does not only assure his relative superiority over the woman, but it assures that his standards become generalized as generically human standards that are to govern the behavior of men and women alike. A 2008 poll by Lewis Harris, the chief polling analyst for CBS, on U.S. workers revealed 31% of female workers reported that they have been harassed at work. 43% were harassed by a supervisor, and 27% were harassed by an employee senior to them. For my advocate's secondary argument, he wrote, women are more sexually portrayed than men. I agree, but this portrayal has given women career opportunities which are exclusive to them. Large markets have been generated from women-based clothing. In many of these companies and markets, the women are sexualized and shown in fashion shows and commercials. A large fashion developer for women clothing is Victoria's Secret. According to Yahoo Finance, Victoria's Secret has 1,053 stores worldwide. The 2012 sales were $6.2 billion with an operating income of $1 billion. Beginning in 1995, Victoria's Secret began holding their annual fashion show. By 2011, the budget for the fashion show was $12 million, up from the first show of a budget of $120,000. My response to Blake's third claim, media is the same condition in shaping of young women and girls' sexual desires. But media is only a small influence to the shaping of young women and girls' sexual desires. The impact of mass media has been overstated in shaping a young woman's desires. According to the book Facing the Complexities of Women's Sexual Desire by Vera Sanja Mass, with a PhD in social psychology, she stated, human sexuality is a complex concept that includes many different elements. In addition to anatomical and physiological aspects, self-knowledge or self-concept, beliefs, values, attitudes, thoughts, and emotions are elements relevant to human sexuality. In conclusion, the increase of violence and sexual harassment among women is due to the unequal treatment in the workplace, and women whom are more sexually portrayed than men have received career opportunities which are not available to men. And mass media is only a small influence to the shaping of women and girls' sexual desires. Therefore, mass media's sexual portrayal of women has not been the reason for a negative effect on society. Thank you.
All right, structurally, we know what the claim is, we know what the secondary claims are, you apply your arguments to those secondary claims, so it's pretty easy to follow. The first point, I think, is your strongest argument, because that's the one that directly contradicts the advocate's claim, suggesting that the source of the problem has little to do with the media portrayal and everything to do with status and power within the organization's hierarchies and cultures that women find themselves in. I thought that you did a good job explaining that concept and then backing it up with some statistical information showing that when women report where the harassment comes from, the vast majority of the harassment appears to be coming from either immediate superiors or people who are in higher positions in the hierarchy. And as a consequence, that really resubstantiates the claim that it's really based about the power structure as a source. This is an alternate causality issue, which is a good way to approach this. However, there's no discussion of what the advocate's evidence was on this particular point, and so I'm not saying that they both couldn't be true. This would maybe diminish the advocate's argument to some degree, but it doesn't irreconcilably say that that the point is not true. So there may, in fact, be residual proof that the media has an effect. Like I said, I think your argument diminishes it substantially, and at least you attempt to quantify it. But since you don't explain what the advocate's lack of quantification is, you're not giving us a chance to make that comparison as clearly as I think you could make it with the evidence that you have on this point. All right, on the second point, I'm a little iffy on this one. I appreciate the idea that there, are opportunities presented by the way the media portrays this, but in essence, I'm going to give you a for instance on this one. This is like saying, well, that's great because strippers now have jobs. Or the women have jobs because the way the media portrays them positively, because of their sexuality. I'm not sure that argument is going to fly very far with most people who are listening to the point that you're making. There's no denial that there are some benefits to the way that women are portrayed this way. For instance, there are lots of economic benefits for people who are selling products. They're likely to sell more of those products. The question is, does that have a benefit to women? I think there might be a good argument to say, look, there is, of course, a residual benefit to women. Here's an example. Victoria's Secret, is an industry that benefits women directly, especially if you could show that most of the people, most of the designers, most of the people who work in the industry are, in fact, women, and so they get the benefit of that. Plus, for instance, if you could show that other businesses that have increased their sales as a result of the use of sexualized images of women are more likely to hire more women, for instance, that the trend is to choose women executives or to promote them more frequently or something like that, then maybe I could see that there's a little bit of an effect there. But the idea that, we've opened up the opportunity for women to make a job out of being sexualized, that seems to me to be a little bit iffy. All right, the last point I thought was, the best piece of evidence that talks about the general principle here is on that point, and that is, look, we're talking about an issue that is incredibly complex, and reducing it to the notion that there is one particular effect here is really hard to do. So I thought it was a good point to finish with, because it does deal with the whole of the argument, and it kind of gives a general response to all that. Once again, I think a little bit of contrast. Now, what did the advocate's evidence talk about on those issues? It's got a statistical correlation with how frequently women in TV shows see their characters as being portrayed a particular way, and then they follow storylines based on that. That's all interesting statistical stuff, but has it had an impact in society? Is there some way that it's been measured? Point out that the advocate didn't show any way that it could be measured except the frequency with which it occurs in the shows, not within the frequency with which it occurs in society, and we know that society is a heck of a lot more complex than some TV show is. All right, thank you.